MIT conducted a terrifying experiment. They had the volunteers brush their teeth with their left hand. 2 weeks later, a brain scan showed these people's brain volume increased by 40%. Active areas. Even more terrifying is when the researchers asked them how they felt. Everyone said the same thing. I feel I was only using half my brain to live before. This is not science fiction. This is the most groundbreaking discovery in neuroscience in 2019. Do you know Da Vinci? Why is he so proficient in both art and science? His surviving manuscripts show he can draw with his left hand. Tesla also writes with his right hand while doing so. He forced himself to train to be ambidextrous. But what's most insane isn't how talented they are. Rather, Yale University proved that any ordinary person, as long as you start doing things with your non-dominant hand, irreversible evolution will occur in the brain after 30 days. Today, I'm going to tell you why your clumsiness. This might be the smartest decision you've ever made. But there's a strange truth here. Scientists discovered when you do things with your non-dominant hand, your brain will enter a state called emergency mode status. Benjamin, a neuroscientist at the University of Washington, Philip conducted an experiment. Let right-handed volunteers draw with your left hand for 20 minutes every day, 10 consecutive days. The result was something a phenomenon that shocked everyone. Their limbs. That is, the bridge connecting the left and right hemispheres of the activity brain increased by a full 40%. Even more outrageous, this change occurred 6 months after training was stopped. Still exists. Philip said a sentence. It sounds like science fiction. We have essentially re-entangled their brains. You might think, what's the big deal? Let me tell you about the truly terrifying place. There is a nerve in your brain called a lateral neuropathy. Limb structure. It has 200 million nerve fibers. It is in the human brain, largest white matter structure, when you always use your dominant hand. Of these 200 million nerve fibers, less than half are working. The remaining neurons are like sleeping giants, waiting to be awakened. And when you start using flying cans with these neurons, it will start to grow wildly within 72 hours. Stanford University research found this process will trigger a type of phenomenon of sheathing. In short, it's your neurons start wrapping yourself in a protective layer. Increase signal transmission speed by 300%. This is like the copper wire network in your brain, upgraded to fiber optic network. But that's not the most outrageous part. Nagoya University in Japan conducted an experiment. They recruited 32 volunteers. Practice using chopsticks with your non-dominant hand, 30 minutes a day, lasting 6 weeks. An even stranger phenomenon was discovered. These people not only became more dexterous with their left prefrontal cortex, that is, responsible for decision-making and abstraction. Activity levels increased by a staggering 60%. In other words, when you clumsily use your left hand to pick up food, you are not only training your hand coordination, you are actually upgrading your decision-making ability, creativity, even the ability to solve complex problems. Neuroscientists at Oxford University. This phenomenon is called neural conduction optimization. What does that mean? It means that when you are training a skill, your brain is secretly upgrading all other systems. Now let me tell you an even more shocking case. In 2018, a 60-year-old blind man was born left-handed. Her name is Laura Lakova. The neuroscientist had him use his right hand. Memory drawing training, 1 hour a day. Just 10 hours later, brain scan. It showed an incredible result. His lifelong habit of being left-handed, it was completely reversed. Even more outrageous is the control over activity of the right hemisphere of the brain in the left hand was deeply suppressed. The left hemisphere of the brain controls the right hand. They completely took over the dominant position. This shattered everyone's understanding of the brain. Cognition of plasticity. Scientists say this proves the brain's dominance, not an innate structural determination. Rather, it is the result of functional competition. In other words, your brain is 10,000 times more flexible than you think. So here's the question. Does this training really make you smarter? The answer is both yes and no. Let me explain. Cambridge University conducted a follow-up study in 2022. They discovered that people who write with their non-dominant hand, working memory capacity improved by 18%. Why? Because when you do things with your non-dominant hand, your brain, one must be aware of every action. This deep encoding will affect your hippocampus. That is, the memory center generates new neurons. This process is called neurogenesis. But there's a key point here. This kind of improvement is specific. A study from the University of Washington found if you train your left hand to draw, you will only be, I've become better at drawing with my left hand. It won't make your right hand better at drawing. It's like going to the gym to work on your biceps. You wouldn't expect your pectoral muscles to get bigger. But don't be too quick to be disappointed, because there are deeper mechanisms at work. When you continue to use the flying can by hand, your brain, a change called divergent thinking will occur. A joint study by Harvard and Yale found people who frequently use their non-dominant hand when facing a problem, number of solutions that can be thought of, 25% more than the average person. Why? Because your left brain is responsible for logic. The right brain is responsible for creativity. When you force these two hemispheres to cooperate more closely, you are essentially training your brain, looking at the problem from different angles. This also explains why Picasso, Michelangelo, and other artistic masters, they would deliberately train their hands' abilities. They weren't born this way. They are forcing their brains to rewire. Now, let me tell you an even more counterintuitive discovery. Some people might think, then I might as well train myself to be ambidextrous. A large-scale study in the UK in 2016. A warning was issued. People who are born with both hands, in memory, In tests of arithmetic language and reasoning ability, the score was even lower than that of a one-handed dominant player. Why is this happening? Neuroscientists believe when the brain is most efficient, it's when he immediately knows which side to use when handling tasks. If both sides are equally strong, this will lead to so-called hemispheric decision-making confusion. It's like having two bosses giving you orders at the same time. Now you don't know who to listen to. However, this research has a fatal flaw. He studies people who are born with both hands, rather than being trained. These are two different things. In fact, the latest research has found hand coordination ability developed through training. It will not cause this kind of chaos. On the contrary, it will teach your brain to switch on demand. Like a skilled programmer. Freely switch between different programming languages. Switch to the same. The key is not to make both hands equally strong. It's about keeping your brain flexible. So what should we do? MIT developed a rule called the 20-minute rule. Training program, 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Use your non-dominant hand to perform simple tasks. Note that this is a simple task. It's not about writing a paper with your left hand on day 1. From brushing teeth to opening the door, start with the most basic actions like picking up the remote control. During the first and second weeks, only these simple movements were performed. I started trying to write about myself in the third and fourth week. Draw simple shapes for your name. After the 5th week, you can try writing short sentences, even using the non-dominant hand to operate the mouse. What is the most important thing in this process? It's that kind of clumsiness. When you feel frustrated, when slow and clumsy, don't be discouraged, because this is a sign that your brain is growing. Like going to the gym. Muscle soreness proves you're getting stronger. But you must be wary of a trap. If you feel real pain, then stop. If you're so frustrated you want to throw things, then let's reduce the time to 10 minutes. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. The goal is not within a month, become a Superman who can use both hands, but within 30 days, let your brain relearn how to learn. Here is a crucial understanding. The essence of training with the non-dominant hand. It's not about making you a person who can use both hands. It's not about forcing your brain. Exit autopilot mode. Did you know? 90% of our daily actions are habitual. When you brush your teeth with your right hand, your brain is almost shut down. But when you brush your teeth with your left hand, your prefrontal cortex will be forcibly activated. You must be fully focused. Note that this task, which should have been automated, is forced attention. It is the fuel for brain growth. Einstein once said, "The true mark of intelligence is not knowledge. Rather, it's imagination." This is precisely the core value of non-dominant hand training. You are not learning a new skill. You are training your brain. Think in different ways. When your brain, I'm used to feeling challenged by simple tasks, he will face truly complex problems. Become more flexible. So tonight, start by brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Feel that awkwardness. That kind of sluggishness that frustrates you. That's not you withdrawing. That's your neurons crying as they grow. In the next 30 days, your brain will undergo a real change. It's not because your left hand got stronger. Rather, it's because you taught your brain how. Relearning. Remember, genius is not innate. Geniuses are those who know how. People who force their brains to grow. And now you know this secret.